Hey, this is Alex with the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. Make sure to follow us on Spotify so you can catch every new episode that we post. Also, follow us on Twitter at Unbiased Blazers. In our bio, there's a link to join our Discord server where you can join in on the discussion. You can give us takes, comments, questions for us to talk about on future episodes. Now, let's get to the show. Rip City, baby. Hello, Rip City. Welcome to episode 14 of the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. We're here to bring some exciting news. It's actually only going to be me and Fawad tonight. We don't have Mike, so me and Fawad will be talking about the exciting news we got going on in the Portland Trailblazer fandom. Let's just go right into what we're all excited about. I think at least most of us are excited. The Blazers made a trade, surprisingly, and I actually think the trade we actually did very good in this trade. We ended up trading Derrick Jones Jr. and a first-round pick to, I believe, it ended up going to the Chicago Bulls. And it was a three-team trade, and we got Larry Nance from the Cleveland Cavaliers in return, which I think we'll get into a little bit more, but I think he fits the role we need. He fits perfectly for that. So let's Fawad, how did you feel just initially when you heard the trade at first? How did you feel?
Right when I heard about the trade, I thought it was good. I wasn't too excited. I thought it was I thought we improved, but I thought we overpaid a little bit with the first round pick. Especially because I did like Derrick Jones Jr. and I was hoping that he would improve and be like a regular part of our rotation this year. So at first I wasn't. I still thought it was a good trade. I was overwhelmed. I thought we could have done better with the asset we had, but I did think that we improved.
Yeah, and like you said, I was a big fan of Derrick Jones Jr. too, and I think him last year getting taken out of the lineup, I think was a mistake. I think he helped us.
hmm
And so it was sad to see him go, but I am excited to see what Larry Nance can do. I honestly, if I had to pick between those two, because they're kind of similar play styles a little bit, I would probably take Larry Nance. But it sucks to see Derrick Jones Jr. leave too, because I enjoyed watching him play. And then, like you said, giving up the first round pick, it is lottery protected, so that helps a little bit. But
hmm
it does. So when you look back, if we end up having to rebuild, hopefully that doesn't cost us. But I think for right now we'll be okay.
Yeah, and then after I had some time to take the trade in and look up Larry Nance Jr. a little bit more, I started loving the trade. I think he fits a lot of our holes. Like he's a good interior defender. He can play small ball five at times. He's a really good playmaker for a big. He averaged 3.1 assists last year, which is pretty good for a big man, especially since he's not, a huge part of their offense. Um, so the more I thought about it, the happier I was. I think he can be really good off the bench for us. I think um, I'm hoping that he's even good enough to maybe even be the small ball five and not have Cody Zeller, because I'm still not too high on Zeller. But then I guess if Zeller is good, then he can still play the four full time, and be good for us that way. Like his skill set is very versatile. So I think he can help us in so many different ways, and he'll really help the second unit a lot too, because a lot of people have talked about. I think I probably talked about it too, that we need a backup point guard. But then if we have someone who's as good at playmaking or passing at least as Larry Nance Jr., I think that'll help the ball movement a little bit in the second unit as well.
For sure. And I'm gonna address two things. Let's go over, first of all, let's just go over his stats for last year. First off, he's 28 years old. 28 years old, so he's still fairly young. He's still got some years to go. He averaged 9.3 points, shot 47%. He shot 36% from the three, which tells me if he's left open, he can make them. And I'm totally fine with if it's a wide open shot, you take it. I'm fine with it. And especially if you're making 36% of them. I think that's pretty close to what Covington ended up shooting at the end of the year. And we were okay with him shooting threes. His free throw percentage is a little low at 61%. But like you said, he averages 3.1 assists, which is I love to see that from a big man, or at least a four. And then he's 6.7 rebounds. And surprisingly, what a lot of people I don't think realize is he gets a lot of steals. He was averaging 1.7 steals a game.
Yeah,
Um,
1.7 steals for a big or even a four is like ridiculous.
and I saw something. I wish I could remember where it was, but I think it said he was in the top 7 for pass deflections, which I think Covington's number 1. So to have another guy that's in the top 10, 2 of them on your team, that just
Yeah,
helps your
that's
defense even
huge.
more. The other thing I wanted to address was you talked about limiting Cody Zeller. I think with Larry Nance, that does help limit Cody Zeller. And because Cody Zeller has been injury prone the last couple years, that only helps. He doesn't have as much of a burden to come off the bench and play as many minutes as he needs to. That being said, Larry Nance sort of has been injured lately, but last year he, I think, only played 35 games for the Cavs. But at the same time, the Cavs were doing some weird stuff where they were just trying all different kinds of players and playing players, just trying to see what they had. So I don't think it was necessarily injury as much as it was the Cavs trying to figure out what pieces they had. But I do know that he has been injured before, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as like Cody Zeller's injury history.
Yeah, it's definitely good injury insurance for Cody Zeller, and we desperately needed another four who can play the five as well. So that's exactly what we needed and what we got. Um, his injuries, yeah, Larry Nance Jr. is kind of injury prone himself too. The most he's played in a season is 67 games. He's always hovered around the 60s, except for this year when he only played 35. And he did get injured like for a good chunk, but from what I saw before he got injured, like that first third of the season, the Cavs defense was actually really good, and it basically fell apart as soon as he got injured. So that bodes well for us as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a huge help in the defensive. I think a lot of people underestimate how good he is actually defensively. He played for Cleveland. Not many people care to watch
Yeah,
Cleveland, so you don't really
I'm
hear
guilty
much
of that
from
as
him.
well.
But I think he's going to help tremendously. I was really excited when we got Larry Nance. I like Larry Nance. I think he's athletic. He can move. He can, according to his stats, he can shoot pretty decently. And watching some of his highlights, I mean, he pulls up from three sometimes, so it's not like it's just all open threes that he's taking. He's pull up threes, so he can pretty much do a little bit of everything. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to us.
And something else we haven't really talked about, you said he shot 47% from the field this year. That's by far his lowest. Like every year he's like 53, 58, 60% even one time. Actually, that was only half the season, but before he got traded. But his field
Sure,
goal percentage is always really high. So, I think he'll have some inside scoring ability too when we need to. Obviously, we don't need to rely on him too much given how our team is like 90% offense.
exactly.
But when we need him to, he can score. Um, and I'm guessing that 47% was partly because of injuries and he was rusty, and also because Cleveland was kind of a mess and they were just trying different things. Maybe he couldn't get into a rhythm. I don't
Exactly.
know. I didn't watch Cleveland too much, so I'm just speculating here. But based on his historical stats, I think he will be an efficient scorer when we need him to be.
Well, I mean, if you just think about it this way, his numbers are bound to go up as far as percentage wise because he's going to get much more open looks
Oh
on
yeah, for sure.
us than he was with Cleveland. He's not having
Hmm.
to create as much for himself here as he would have had to do with Cleveland. So I think it's a plus win. It seems like a majority of like the NBA analysts and stuff are giving us, good grades, A plus,
Yeah,
A minus, not A plus, A minuses, and I agree. I think it made us better, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
yeah. I think A minus is pretty much perfect for this deal. And also similar to his field goal percentage, his free throw percentage historically is still not great, but it's much better than 61. It's at
Yeah,
69 for his career. So that's, it's all right. It's not
I mean, right
terrible,
around
but
that 70% is pretty
yeah.
decent.
70% is like where it's like I'm okay with it. So he's right around there. He's hit 70 a couple times in his career.
So there was a rumor, and I don't honestly believe it, but we'll just address it to talk about it. There was a rumor because since this was a three-team trade, there was a rumor that we were close to actually getting Laurie Markkinen. I don't. believe it. I think they said what broke down was that they wanted a second round pick and we wouldn't give a second round pick. Would you have rather had Laurie Markkinen or would you rather have Larry Nance?
I 100% would rather have Larry Nance. But like kind of unrelated, I am still high on Markkinen, and I think he has a lot of potential. I just don't think he fits on our team. He's all offense and no defense, and we have more than enough of those guys. So, especially for like someone who plays the forward,
Yep.
we can't afford to have another four who can't play defense at all.
And I won't even elaborate on it because that's 100% what I would say. He's all offense, no defense, and that's exactly what we don't need right now.
Yeah.
So, and you had to pay for it. You'd have to pay to have him on
Oh
our
yeah,
team. So, I mean, I think we made out with the better situation.
for sure.
And I do think
Well,
that Markkinen is a good player.
yeah, and a lot of people were surprised that sorry, where did he end up going?
He went to Cleveland.
He went to Cleveland. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that they were surprised that Chicago didn't just take Larry Nance because he's better than Derrick Jones Jr. So I'm happy that and
Yeah,
I would agree with that. Like you would think that they would rather have Larry Nance. He fits their team pretty much as well as he fits us. But
yep.
their mistake is our win.
Yeah, I'm okay with that one. So, do you have anything else you want to add on the whole Larry Nance trade?
um, I guess the only other minor thing I liked about the trade is that he has, I think, one more year on his contract, so this year and one more. So he's
Yep.
not expiring. We don't need. It's not like Norman. We have to worry about him re-signing, and
Sure.
he's cheap as well. He's only making 10.7 this year and 9.7 next year. So very good
Exactly.
contract, team friendly,
Yep.
a lot of flexibility.
And if for some reason, and hopefully this doesn't become an issue, but if for some reason Dame decides he wants out, that's
Yeah,
someone that you can trade away because he has a good contract and he's still a good player that you can get good value back for it. So
exactly,
no
100%.
matter what, it's a good player to have and a good contract to have, and it's a good trade chip if you need to trade.
Yeah, he's just perfect in every way from that standpoint.
So we'll move on since this is going to be kind of a quick podcast. We actually had a question slash kind of topic to talk about from off of Twitter from Luke the Pepsi Can. I believe I could be wrong, but I believe that's Dame Dalla, but I could be wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong. But he said he has a couple questions for us to talk about. Why did you become a Blazer fan? So let's just go ahead and address that one first. For me, hometown team. I live about 3 hours south of Portland. So once Tracy McGrady his career kind of was starting to slow down, I didn't really have any ties to any team because I was always just whatever team he was on, that's who I was watching. And like I mentioned before, I ended up watching the Blazers play in the playoffs against Dallas when Brandon Roy did that crazy comeback that we talked about. And at that moment, I was like, not only is that my hometown team, that was one of the greatest games I've ever watched. I now love this team. And so that's for me, that's how I became a Blazer fan. What about you?
Um, my story of becoming a fan is kind of uh, I don't want to say weird, but it's just unusual. So when was Dame drafted? Like 2012, I think. So
I think
whatever
so.
2K, yeah, whatever 2K came out that year, I was playing that, and I was drafted to Portland. And this is before the actual NBA season started. So I was on Portland, and so like Dame was there obviously too. And in the games, he was just playing really well. So I was like, I wonder if this guy's that good in real life. So when the season started, I started like I watched a couple games, and the first game I watched of Dame, he hit the game winner against New Orleans, and I was like, "This
Yep.
guy's a rookie, and he just did that." So I just like right from the start, I was a Dame fan. I became a Blazers fan a little like a couple years down the line. I'm from Toronto, so I was mainly a Toronto fan. I guess Miami was kind of my second team at the time because I loved Chris Bosh, and my older brother was a LeBron fan, so that was like kind of my second team. But then like I didn't really care about them too much, and then so I was like more Toronto. But then I was liking Dame more and more, and then the more I was watching him, the more I was watching the team, and I started liking the team as a whole too. I like CJ, and then once the Nurk trade happened, or actually it might even have been the year before, but I think it was the first or second time Dame got snubbed from the All Star game, and then he just went on that insane
Went
like post
crazy.
all yeah So that like by the end of that season, it was like, okay, yo, I like this team as a whole. I want to start watching them, and then I've just been like die hard since, I guess.
Yeah, when Lillard was getting snubbed those years, he was after the All Star break going crazy,
I
which doesn't
remember
surprise me.
I think the first game back from the All-Star game, one time was against the Warriors, and he dropped,
Yeah,
I don't know, 50 something. And I only watched the first half because that's to go somewhere. And he was like, his first half was already good. So I was just checking the play-by-play on my phone while I was like out, and I was just like, "What? How am I missing this game? This guy's like losing his mind." I was his post All-Star game, the post All-Star snub like streaks were insane.
100% crazy how he would just turn it on like that and prove everyone that he should have been there. Um,
Yeah.
he had one more question, and I kind of like this question. It's if you could bring back one Blazer from the last 5 seasons, who would it be? Now, I don't know if this counts as 5 seasons because I think technically now it's 6, but I'm gonna manual his little question real quick and just make it 6 seasons, just in case. For me, Wesley Matthews. I loved watching Wesley Matthews play. I loved the defensive intensity he brought. The how just how much of a hard worker he was, and uh, his 3-point shooting. For some reason, he just always seemed when you needed just one 3-pointer, he always seemed to get make that 1 3, and then it would just roll on from there, whether it was Lillard or Batum or even Aldridge sometimes making a three. So for me, and I think honestly he would help our team so much if we back then when he was playing before he got injured, if we had him on our team now and he was still playing the same way, I think that would be such an asset to have on our team. And not only that, I loved his Iron Man persona. I'm a big fan of Iron Man, so the starting lineups when they play the Iron Man song and him wearing. I remember when he tore his Achilles and he came back. I think it was during the playoffs or it might have been right before the playoffs, and he came in with the Iron Man helmet. I was like, oh, that's so badass. I want that helmet now. So for me, it's Wesley Matthews. I'm a big fan of his, and uh, it sucks that he's gone to all these teams that have won championships, but he's never been on the team when they won it. So, but for me, it's Wesley Matthews. What about for you?
So I wasn't sure if this question was asking like if we get them back, are they in their prime or are they, how they are right now? So if it's
I took it as how they were when you liked them when they were there 5 seasons
okay,
ago. So that's how I took it.
all right. So I was if it was like how they are right now, I think I probably would have gone with Gary Trent Jr. because,
Sure,
lots of reasons.
sure.
But if we're going with how they were on Portland, I have to go with Ed Davis. I loved
Yep.
Ed Davis so much. And I was literally heartbroken when we didn't re-sign him in like 2018 or whatever. He was such a hustle guy. He did all the little things. He's a great rebounder, good defender inside. And he was just like a good guy, like for the locker room too. And he was like mentoring Zach, and I thought like their chemistry on the court was really good too. So Ed Davis is one of my favorite Blazers while he was here. So I think that would be my pick for sure.
And just imagine if when he played for us, how good he was for us. If we had him now, how like much that would help us.
Yeah.
That I mean, I think to me, he reminds me of Cantor, where he was always getting the offensive rebounds, but
Hmm.
he also could play defense, and he was like you said, he hustled and made plays for us. So I
Yeah.
liked Ed Davis a lot too, and so did Lillard. So
Yeah, I remember Lillard has said so many things about like how much he loves Ed, and he was really sad when he left too. Um, but yeah, if we had Ed instead of Canner, I think we hopefully would have won that first round series.
oh, oh,
Replacing probably
bringing
the
it back.
worst replacing the worst backup center on defense in the league with like an above average one. So that would have been
Yeah,
great.
yeah. And just the plays that he made, even just just like you said, the hustle plays that those.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I like Matthews so much is the
Yeah,
hustle plays
he was
that he
another one too.
made. It just was like there was never a time when it was like either one of those guys weren't engaged in the game, no matter what the score was or how early on or how late the game was. They were just always on on top of everything, and that's all you want to ask for your players is that they're trying as hard as they can and they're not taking plays off. And I don't think either one of those guys ever took a play off.
Yeah, any hustle guy, you just love them instantly. Like Wes
Yeah.
Matthews, everyone loved him.
Well, and especially like a small market team like Portland or all these other small market teams, we
Yeah,
appreciate the players a lot more than these bigger market teams that can just at any moment trade away somebody and get somebody else and attract free agents. Not we take more pride in the players that we have, and when you see them working hard like that, you like them 10 times more.
yeah, 100%.
Do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Um, Not really. There's a couple small topics, but they're more suited for, I guess, when we're closer to the season. Like, I guess our last spot, but Jason Quick said, like, our last roster spot, but Jason Quick said, we're likely gonna invite some people to training camp. So I guess there's nothing really to talk about in
Yeah.
that regard until training camp starts.
Which I think is a good idea to leave that open for somebody to come in training camp, or just leave that open during the season. And if an injury happens, you can try to find someone to fix that injury hole that creates. So,
Yeah,
um,
I think that pretty much covers it for today.
okay, perfect. I want to thank Luke the Pepsi can, Lucas. I want to thank you for asking that question, those two questions. And like we state all the time, anytime you guys want to ask questions or give us takes to talk about, feel free to do it on Discord, Twitter, however you want to do it. We'll respond to them. I also want to just say, keep your guys' eyes out. We're gonna have a surprise episode pretty soon that I'm at least very excited for, and I'm sure you guys will be pretty excited to hear what we have in store coming up pretty soon. So just kind of keep your eyes out. We'll kind of give a heads up when that's going to go live. Um, but other than that, I hope you guys have a great night. And as always, Rip City, baby.